Hello, good evening, Oral Gibbs, and welcome to Oral Gibbs Live. And my guest this evening for this program is none other than the new Prime Minister of St. Martin, Prime Minister Mr. William Marlin. How are you doing, sir? Good evening. Happy New Year to you and your family.
Good evening, Oral. Good evening, viewers, and a happy New Year to you and your family. Wish you good health in the first place, continued success, and of course, some happiness. And the wealth part always, once you're happy and you're healthy, a little wealth can go a long way. I wish the people of St. Martin, of course, all the best as well, um, individually and collectively as a people.
Well, thank you for the invitation to be here. So, how did you spend your Christmas holiday and the New Year?
Well, actually, I had an interesting Christmas. I left the office Christmas Eve in the afternoon and went in town, um, picked up one or two little things, and then I went home and stayed home Christmas Eve, Christmas, Boxing Day, and only left on the 27th in the afternoon when I was taking my daughter to the airport. So I spent the entire Christmas basically kind of shut in. Well, it was a shut in, of course. The family was home, the kids were home on vacation. The New Year was also rather quiet this year because both my daughter and my son left before the New Year. And my eldest daughter, Indira, she went to New York to see the ball drop. She went with her husband to spend the Christmas in New York, or the New Year's in New York. And so, as the going goes, only the old folks were at home. So we had a quiet New Year as well.
So now, a lot of people surprised, because first election was scheduled for February 9, but a lot of people didn't want that. But people were surprised that it was so short that by September this year, elections are scheduled again. And a lot of people I spoke with were saying that they wish that this government had the full term, remaining term, or at least a year and a half. Are you satisfied with what you got so far?
Well, Oral, it's you, as we'll say, you got to do with the best you got to do your best with what you have. We can argue from today until September 26th that it should have been an extra 3 months, an extra 4 months, an extra 5 months. At the end of the day, we have to deal with the reality that September 26th, there will be an election. The government is busy adopting the governing program that we had written in 2014. We're adapting it in basically coming now with an action program based on the 9 months. Of course, we are planning to return to government after the 27th elections, 26 elections in September. But of course, then that would be for a governing period for 4 years. And then you basically adopt your governing program once again. But to include things in the program that would take a couple of years to execute, or 2 years or 3 years to execute, we are saying no, it's best to remain realistic. The program serves sort of as a master plan, and then we will pull from there things that we can realistically accomplish, or that we hope to at least get ready for the execution phase. If you want to do anything major, there's talk about plans were ready for a medical center and the National Alliance government has shelved it or whatnot. I mean, that's absolutely not true. Furthest from the truth, but there are no plans ready to start anything. Rather than just going out there and saying it was ready, for the same reason, people can say the UP campaigned on the "We Ready," and a year after they were in office, they have not accomplished one thing, nothing, zilch, zero. The other day when Gibbes was having its challenges, rather than having a realistic and honest approach to it, again, you try to play politics with it, and the leader of the UP come out accusing a motion in Parliament for the reason why we are having electricity outages. Again, the farthest thing from the truth. This engine GBE was considering purchasing some since 2012. Okay, since 2012. And the question would then be to the UP leader and government, why didn't you purchase it in 2014 up to 2015 when you were there? What you have now is that GBE is asking permission to deviate from the public tender so that they can enter negotiations with Wärtsilä to purchase this engine. And even if the decision was taken 6 months ago, there would be no engine here still, because it's an engine actually that was built for another company. They changed their mind apparently, and that is how the engine can be delivered in 9 months. If you would purchase a big engine, electrical engine, it would take sometimes up to 2 years to manufacture and deliver.
So, Prime Minister, when you look at the situation in Somalia, you have a short time to deliver a lot. People are expecting a lot in your government. Most governments take at least 4 years and even longer to get things done. You have a lot of responsibility on your hands right now.
Well, Oral, I don't want to blow any trumpet or tap myself on the shoulder, and it's not a one-man show either. But people who know me know that I perform under pressure. I work hard when I get in government, and so far my historic track record has always been, 94 to 95, 1 year in government. 99, between 95 to 99, there were like 3 periods. Then in 2009 to 2010, again, when everybody thought it would have been impossible to deliver unconstitutional change in a year, we were able to pull it off. And, again, we have just 1 year, not even 1 year, basically 9 months. I call it a full-time pregnancy to deliver not a baby this time, but to deliver on changes the country need. And I've listed some of the priorities. They were not all of the priorities because the action program is not yet ready. But as soon as that is completed, we will be presenting it to the public of St. Martin. Every ministry will have certain priorities that they would be looking at. But some of the things that comes straight off the top of my head would be, one, the completion of the government building. We cannot basically head into another election with a government promising to complete a building to move in. There are those who are saying, listen, just walk over, clean it out, put your desk and let's occupy it. Right, that you can do tomorrow morning, but then it's like living in a house that is still not finished. And sometimes people move into a home that is not yet finished, and all they got to do is tile.
Never get finished.
7 years after, they still didn't tile. Or we just need to put in the windows, and 5, 6 years after, the windows are still not in. So we really want to complete the government building, furnish it, have it equipped, and move as many people as possible into it. And when I say as many as possible, the whole government apparatus won't be able to move into the building. So there are still going to be some offices that government is renting that we would have to continue renting. But most of it would, of course, move over there. Priority, of course, is balancing the budget. We already sign off on the budget before the end of the year. The budget has been sent to the governor to present to the Council of Advice. And it is, in essence, still sort of a work in progress in terms of what the government has really done is look realistically at how much money we will generate for sure, barring, of course, nothing goes drastically wrong. But the approach previous governments have used was ask each department or each ministry to present your wish list. So you have a wish list of 7 ministries, including the Minister Plenipotentiary in Holland, their office. You have a wish list of Parliament. And when you put it all together, you come up, let's say, with 500 million. And then the government start to arm wrestle with the CFT, and the CFT is saying, no, it's not realistic, you can't reach it, you can't, and a back and forth. This is one of the things that happened in 2015, that up till today, we now in 2016, there's never been an approved budget for 2016, 15. So there is no sense to say, well, you're going to try and present a budget, because you've already spent what you had to spend in 2015. What now the government needs to do is look at what was collected, what was really collected in 2014, and how much was spent in 2015. So you could end up with, we probably collected 400 million, but we spent 500 million, or we spent 450 million. I don't know what the numbers would be. The approach this government has used is to, rather than say what you want, what's your wish, and what's your wish, the government says, well, based on what we've collected in 2012, 13, 14, and apparently would have collected in 2015, we are going to take this number as point of departure. So if it's 435 million, then let's balance a budget at 435 million. The different ministries now needed to adjust their spending. And yes, one could say, yes, but we are supposed to contribute to, let's say, Heineken Regatta. But if you don't have the money, how can you contribute? This organization or that organization is asking for funding, or this minister is going to say, yes, I wanted to implement this program in my ministry. Yes, you wanted to do it, but you cannot do it because the money simply is not there. So as such, we would have a bare bone budget. But there are 2 advantages there. Well, in the first place, once it is balanced, then government can access the capital budget to borrow to carry out certain projects. So if you want to build, for instance, Link 6, which is part of the East-West connection, then by having a balanced budget, we can now borrow the needed funds to carry out that project. If we want to build a center for the performing arts, we can say, okay, now that the budget is balanced, now we can do it. We cannot, and that is why the government was not able to carry out one capital expenditures project in 2015, or couldn't borrow $1 in 2015, because the government never balanced a budget in 2015. Then on top of that, you have extra revenues that the Minister of Finance has already started engaging the community to ensure that extra funds come in. One of such areas is, for instance, casino fees. Casino fees have been set and put in place since, I believe it is 1987 or something like that. They have never been adjusted. Now, you know, anybody doing business, you can't rent a business place, let's say in town, 20 years ago or 25 years ago, and you're paying the same price. An airline ticket has changed over the past 25 years. The cost of a car has changed over the 25 years. So government's budget continued to increase over the past 20, 25 years, but its receipt from casinos has remained the same way. So regardless of how much profit they would have been making, government continued to get the same amount, but the value became less each year. So already a discussion has started to increase the casino fees, probably with with 100%. So if they used to pay 50,000 a month, they would now have to pay probably for 100,000 a month. And it's a realistic approach in terms of simply a business approach. You have people who have been using government water rights for years and have not paid any canon. You have people who have been using government land for years.
But how is that possible, Mr. Prime Minister, that they're not paying for the water rights?
They you know, and some of it go back to many years. They have asked government to allow them to use X parcel of land. And in the process, somebody said, go ahead. And they did what they had to do. And particularly if one does not need funding from a bank, for instance, where the bank would say, well, let me see that you have your documents. The person finances it out of some private funding or didn't go through the local banks. And voila, there's a business operating for years. We have people who are using land on the Pawn Island. Their properties, their businesses who are using thousands of square meters of land without paying any land rent. A projection already made would yield government an extra $1.5 million, $2 million a year. So there is money out there basically waiting to be collected. Dividends from government companies, there's been a discussion ongoing with government about a dividend policy. And my thing has always been, you don't need a dividend policy because it's already there. Dividend is after the company closed its books and you have made a profit. Government sit with management of the companies like, okay, what do you need for reinvestment? What do you need to guarantee whatever loans? What do you need? What do you need? So if there's a 10 million profit, and government could say, okay, you keep 6 and I'll take 4. You keep 4 and I'll take 6. But it can't be that a government company is continuously making money. So the companies are rich, and the government who owns the company is basically poor.
But is it true, Mr. Prime Minister, that the loan agreement with some of these government-owned companies stipulate that the companies are not allowed to pay any dividends? Is that true?
I do not know to what extent it is verbatim so, but there are loans, I think, with the airport. There was one of them that has some agreement where, in order to guarantee that the airport would be able to service its debt, that all the monies collected should be pledged or should be kept somewhere, for government. I mean, to ensure that the loan is serviced. Now that is not such a good deal, so to speak. But then there are ways to circumvent it, because if the airport has to keep its profits in reserve to guarantee the loan, then government can say, okay, then I'll increase your concession fee from $5 million to $7 million or 7 million guilders. So I'm still going to get 2 or 3 million out of you. But there's so much money, so much money. There's money to be had, to be collected, that is floating around out there, that government simply was not doing its fair share in getting it. One of the revenue streams, for instance, when I got into office, I asked somebody in the finance department, I said, what is true about casinos owing government money? And then it turned out, yes, casinos collectively owe government 13 million. And I'm like, well, how is that possible? It turned out it has to do with the control of fees and whatnot that the casinos got to pay monthly. But the government didn't have a legal tool to collect if they were not paying. It might sound strange, but that was the explanation. So what we had to do, it turns out, is the Minister of Economic Affairs that had to sign this ministerial decree. It took us less than a week to get the necessary paperwork signed off, and now the receiver has the legal basis to go after the casinos, and I don't mean it in a negative way, but to enforce the collection. Now, if you have to pay a certain fee, and you get to find out that, hey, government doesn't really have the means to go after you. So if you have 100,000 every month to give the government, but you can keep it because the government ain't got the tools to collect it from you anyway. So this is what has happened. It's not all of them who have not been paying. Some of them have been cooperating with government. And now that it's there, that too is part of the projection in the budget as income this year, because now we have the legal means to go after it. So even if it was put into a budget, let's say in 2014, CFT would have said, no, there are no legal provisions for you to collect this money. Now we have created it. So when the budget is presented to Parliament, it's going to be a bare bone budget, but the financial projection for 2016, we are very hopeful that it will be a good year for St. Martin.
Now we understand that one of the members of Parliament, Mr. Van Raak, is suggesting that members of Parliament in the kingdom receive same salary based on each country's income. You agree with that?
Well, you know, I saw a headline. I saw a headline today while I was having a meeting in the office, and I told somebody, you know what is so ironic? That the focus is on how much members of Parliament and ministers and whatnot make. And if there's anything, if it's any comfort to some of the people out there, while the government is the shareholder of government companies, when I see the salaries that directors of government companies make, who answer to the shareholder, some of them are making twice the salary of the prime minister. So we focus on those with responsibility for running the country, not a company. And I'm not trying to throw the directors under the bus, but the benefits that directors in government companies have, and the salaries that they make, in some cases is like twice that of the prime minister. And I'm saying they're making it sound as if the country is going to shoot off to the moon and to the stars if the politicians make less money. The budget ain't out of balance because politicians are making the money that they make. The country won't all of a sudden things are going to get way better because, let's say, William Marlin or whoever collects 1,000 guilders less, but we need to put things into the big picture and the broad perspective. One of the things that is so interesting about the politics in the kingdom, if a former minister, okay, we have, let's say, Dennis Richardson is no longer minister. And if you would hear, well, Dennis Richardson has become the director of TLM and he's collecting 40,000 guilders a month. Oh, you see those scumbags, you see what I've done? Or former minister Ernest Sams, or former minister Rafi Bosman. They've been appointed to a government company and they're making 40,000, 35,000 a month. Oh, the same Van Raaks are going to come down on St. Martin as if, hey, they have committed mortal sin in St. Martin. And then when you read what has happened to some of the former directors, or not former directors, former ministers, or former members of parliament. Some of them end up in management at the harbor of Rotterdam for a ton load of money. Others end up in this government company for a ton load of money. Others gone by the central bank, however. So if the Dutch politicians do it, it's all fine, nice and well. But if any former politician gets an appointment down this way, or the son or the daughter of a politician gets an appointment, oh, we are the worst people in the kingdom, and we're the worst people in the Caribbean, we're the worst people on planet Earth. So I really do not, and actually, for the way I am, I've spent a whole lot of time dwelling on this, because I shrug my shoulders at it. I don't take it on, I don't read it. I saw a headline, but I did not even read it. I made a comment to somebody in the office that I said, you know what's interesting? I said, just the other day, I was discussing the remuneration and certain benefits for a director of a government company. I said, and guess what? The person makes almost double my salary. And, you know, we left it at that.
You know, members of parliament from the Netherlands will be here starting tomorrow, I think, right?
They're here already.
They're here already, right? Are you going to be meeting with them also?
No. It's a parliamentary consultation.
So
but
they would not speak with the Prime Minister then?
no, no. When the members of parliament are visiting a country, sometimes there is a, you know, when we go to the Netherlands, sometimes there's a courtesy visit to the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, you know, that lasts like a half an hour. What they have tomorrow is a reception, and I'm invited, and of course I'm attending. But other than that, there is no meeting for the members of parliament to meet with the government and or the Prime Minister. There is no such thing.
You have any plans to visit the Netherlands anytime soon?
Actually, initially I was to visit the Netherlands Sunday coming, but I said it was too quick after the New Year, so we have put it off from the 17th to the 24th. I will be in the Netherlands already. Appointments have been scheduled with, a short visit with the Prime Minister, a visit with the Minister of Kingdom Relations, the Minister and the Cabinet, the Minister Plenipotentiary. I will visit Cabinet there. I have a visit with the Deputy Chair of the Council of State, Mr. Peter Donner. We have an appointment with, of course, the students of St. Martin, and we might build in also, the possibility for St. Martiners, because the St. Martin community in the Netherlands have grown over the years. We have more St. Martiners living in Holland than we did, let's say, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. So it's, since you are there, and there's always an opportunity for people who want to come and chit-chat, but primarily the students, the focus is on the students who would get an opportunity to discuss things with the government. One of the things I would have loved to, realize if we were given sufficient opportunity was to open the possibility for students in the Netherlands to vote. Why I say that is because students, St. Martin students who go to the United States, they come back every election and they vote. Right. Students sometimes who go to neighboring islands, they can come back and vote. But because you're studying in the Netherlands, you lose your right to vote because you have to write out of St. Martin to register in the Netherlands, while Dutch people who live here vote in the Dutch elections. So we want to give the students, because I believe, like I have a sister living in Holland. It's a choice that she has made. She made Holland her home. It's not that she's there for studying. She's been living in Holland for years. So I think if that's where you want to live, that's where you should vote. But St. Martin students, my children come home twice a year on vacation, let's say, and they would love to vote here. But you can't because you're written out. So you want to create that possibility that at least in one or two areas in Holland on election day, students should be able to go and cast their vote. That's one of the things we want to realize.
Let me take a call for you. Oral Gibbs live, you're on caller. Hello?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
First of all, I'd like to say Happy New Year to the Prime Minister and Happy New Year to you, Mr. Gibbs.
Same to you, thank you.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you
Prime
too.
Minister yesterday on the radio. No other minister in the past come forward with such a brilliant idea, plan, and I'd like to congratulate him for that, and also the other council of ministers, because this government, three-party coalition government, is doing good things to the people of St. Martin, and I wish they would have been there for 2018 until 2018, and there would be no election until 2018. So just keep up the good work, and may God bless you all.
And which is the plan you were talking about?
The things what you were talking about yesterday on the radio.
Okay, all right.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you, man.
Well, thanks for the endorsement and the comments. One of the things that people, when they meet me and they said, well, man, the time is too short. We hope you will stay in there until 2018. And my response is, well, you are given a chance to keep us there until 2020. Because when there's an election in 2016, you give your support to the team, and we will be there until 2020 rather than 2018. So in a certain way, you can say it's a blessing in disguise. Yes, we are going back to the polls. Yes, most people didn't want an election, but there is one. And I urge people, I'm not campaigning as yet, but I'm saying once there's an election, you should go out and vote. And if this government you're happy with, then give this government your support so that they can return to office.
You know, the ship jumpers is an issue, and I've said it, in a way sometimes it's good to have, it's healthy if you have ship jumpers. The problem we had in the last 5 years is that it happens so often, but sometimes it could be a real good way to cleanse government sometimes.
Because of our numbers being so little, okay? If you have 15 seats, but it takes thousands of votes to get a seat, you would say, well, okay. What you end up having within our system, you can have, particularly when those who initially won seats give up their seats to go into government, and the seats revert or go to someone lower down on the list, you can get members of parliament who with less than 100 votes have a seat. The majority of those votes, let's say, went to the top 2-3 candidates, okay? They represent the brunt of the votes in that party. But you can get one person with 80 votes, he or she decide, well, you know what, my brother didn't become the director of X, Y, or Z, or my sister didn't get, or I didn't get, or I want, and I want to be, and so you pull your support from the government for no real reason, okay? The proposal that I have made, and it will be further elaborated and discussed as we go along, is ship jumping will be allowed because you can't stop it. It's my right to say I quit my party, but the formation of a government will be only possible through political parties. And political parties have won seats after the election. Because you have, like in the last election, we probably had 6 political parties that contested the election, but only 4 of them won seats. This election, we don't know how many we might have, probably 8, probably 9, probably 10, I do not know. But you could have, let's say, 8 political parties contesting and only 4 of them win seats. So those 4 parties can come together, either one, if they have 8, or 2 or 3 of them come together to form a government. So if I'm not happy with my party for whatever the reason may be, I can declare myself independent. But you're not a party. You cannot, as a member who broke away from a party, now get the full rights and privileges of a party that is made up of a board, an organization that has to be vetted, that has to live up to the electoral laws and live up to the requirements of the Electoral Council and all of this. So the parties are required by law to fulfill certain obligations, but once the individuals are elected, then the parties are sidelined and the Constitution deals only with the individuals. And we want to make a side then there where we say governments are supported by political parties. So if individuals want to jump off ship, that's fine, but you can no longer now use your seat to say, well, I'm going to take my seat, like in the case when we had a red, white, and blue coalition, we had 8 seats, and without any argument, without any fight, the morning I'm supposed to hand in my final report to the governor for the government to be sworn in the following week or so. It's like, hey, the Weaver gone. They're gone? Yeah. He quit the coalition. So that throws everything into a tailspin, and then you hear another one gone. And what has happened, and it might sound like I'm criticizing my own coalition partners. No, I'm grateful for the support we have gotten that made it possible for me to be Prime Minister today and for my party to be in government. But we cannot continue going into elections, having the people, and that is why there were so many people that said, I don't want to vote. Because people are saying, I voted already. And if it was okay to jump ship for UP to be in government, then it's okay for ship jumpers to create the possibility for National Alliance now to be in government. But you don't want for a year from now or a year and a half from now for somebody else to say, well, you know what, I'm going to jump ship and I'm going over on the other side. So we will constantly be shifting back and forth. So we can say, well, with time, that phenomenon might go away. But what we are trying to ensure is that we don't want to wait, what is another 5, 10, or 15 years before the phenomenon goes away. We want to make sure that the system does not create a fertile grounds for this type of thing to happen. So if you want to jump ship, fine. But if you jump ship, just know that your seat cannot be used for the formation of a government.
Now, there's still one ministry to be filled. That's Ministry of Justice. Anytime when that will be done?
The documents are now in for the candidate to be vetted. Actually, I received the documents before the end of December, but some information was still lacking, and they have been provided. And actually, tomorrow, I already had a discussion with the governor. There were 1 or 2 things still to be adjusted, and tomorrow the documents are going in by the governor and by the security, the VDSM, the security service, to start the screening. The governor, you know, the governor basically, you provide information, you sign an integrity declaration, you provide your CV, your background, and whatnot. The security service actually looks at, they verify the information that you provide. So if Oral Gibbs says, I own property on St. Martin, I have a house in Madam Estate, you swear that that is the truth. When the VDSM does the research, they would do the checking to see if indeed Oral Gibbs has a house in Madam Estate, and that's it. It turns out no, Oral Gibbs has a house in Madam Estate, he has a house in Santo Domingo, he has a property in Anguilla, and he has a business in Simpson Bay, and he has. So it's like, hey.
So they want you to declare everything that you have.
Yeah, you answer the questions, you have to answer them truthfully. And the VDSM checks to see if what information you have provided, if it is correct. That's basically what it is.
Okay. Oral Gibbs Live, you want to call? Hello? There, caller? Hello? Not there? All right. Yeah, it's a lot of people, when they look at the island today, in fact, when they heard the Minister of Finance made the statements in December about the 200 million guilders, a lot of people were shocked. It's like, well, we didn't realize that much money. We were already in debt in 5 years. It's as if what would have happened if the government didn't change.
Yes, or when you hear the amount of, while we did not have an approved budget in 2015, but if the budget presented, let's say this ministry was allocated 40 million, it turns out that when you look at the actual accounts as they're coming in, there's one ministry that supposedly had a budget overrun of over 10 million in 2015, while they got a motion of no confidence in September. So the money they have spent, it was like they were spending as if there is no tomorrow. The irresponsible behavior in certain cases. And you see, Mr. Gibson is known to be like a hardliner. He is a no-nonsense person, and his approach basically is, in some of the ministries, they don't like him, quote unquote, because he is the guy who tells you no. Because you could have a good story, you can have a nice story, but his basic answer is, do we have the money? Okay? You could have received an invitation to go meet the President of the United States. Okay, fine, nice. But do you have the money to pay? Because it costs for an airline ticket, it costs for per diem, it costs for hotel, it costs for this. If you have the money, then go ahead. But you can't tell me we do not have the money, but I'm going because, boy, it's an opportunity to meet the President of the United States. Or we have been invited to a conference in Belize on climate change. Fine, nice. I would love to go. But do you have the money to go? So if government over the past years was really budgeting and sticking to the budget, then there are two things, because you can budget to spend 100,000, but you only receive 90,000. So you should at a given moment say, hey, we have not received 100,000, so instead of 100,000, we can only spend 90,000. But what you see happening is, while you receive 90,000, you're projected to spend 100,000, but you'll spend 150,000. So in that one budget post, you're 60,000 in the red. And if you multiply that with a different budget post, we end up with 20, 30 million in the red. So every year, we are adding another 20, 25 million to the deficit. And we're saying, no, enough is enough. One of the items in the budget is, for instance, 5 or 6 million for SZV premiums for uninsured families. Well, one of the things that I told Glenn Carty the other day is, Glenn, the government is going to ask you for SZV. We are going to ask you to provide a detailed list of the people, supposedly some 13,000 people or something like that. And I'm like, but wait, if St. Martin has a registered population of some 45 to 50,000 people, how is it possible that we have 13,000 people who are not insured? Okay, so that's one of the issues that we will look into. And of course, there's going to be savings when the exercise is completed.
Okay. Oral Gibbs Live, you're on caller. Hello?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I'd like to direct this question to the private. What is being done on the new building that's sitting in Port? Thinking, is it, plans to host it, or what are the plans? Please let us know. Thank you.
The plans for the building?
Yeah, the building in the pond.
The new government
Yeah,
building?
which you mentioned earlier in the program.
No. The government, we have had discussions with SZV and with the pension fund. Interestingly, in 2013, when I was minister, then deputy prime minister, I had started the discussion with Franklin Richards, the director, the chairman of the board for APS, to look at APS participating in the completion of the building. So we have basically reached an agreement now, because there are two things. We're trying to kill a couple birds with one stone. Government owes APS, between APS and SZV, government owes something like 140 million, I think it is. So we will sell them the building, and so we'll sell it to them for like 45 million. They will complete the building, furnish the building, and government will rent the building from them. I can't go into the technical details of it yet, but with this construction, we hope to solve the debt we have with SZV and APS. At the same time, complete the building, move in. We are paying now like 14 million in rent for different properties all over town. By selling the building to them and renting the building from them, we'll have a savings on what we would have been paying in rent. So we are paying rent to fewer landlords now. We will have one major landlord. We will pay them rent based on a certain percentage of their investment, and the savings will be used to pay off the debt that we have to them. So within, I think, like 6 years or 3 years, the debt will be, I think 3 years, the debt will be completely paid off. And our projection is, which of course what a caller might want to hear, is that we are moving in, we are projecting to move in between end of June, July.
Okay.
So before the summer ends, we will be occupying the new government building.
Seeing what you've seen, you've been in office now less than a year. I mean, less than a month.
The 19th of December made us a month.
But okay.
Basically, sort of 6 weeks, give and take.
Right. Have there been any surprises? Because this is not the first time you've been in office for a short period of time. But have you found any surprises this time around that really surprised you?
Well, there were a couple of things that we already exposed. Oftentimes when a government has to leave, whether it's as a result of an election or a change of government, you would see government across the board, basically. Government try to give out a couple parcels of land to friends who have been asking for land, or you try to fix up something that was pending for a while. And one of the biggest hobbies is to give out bus and or taxi licenses because they're easy.
That
you
was
know,
this time
give
again
out.
too?
I don't know if any bus and taxi licenses have been given out, but what you've had was some really bad deals. One of them, government awarded a contract for the expansion of the prison to something like 13 million, I believe it was, without a bid. Government tried to extend the garbage contracts for another 5 years to a whopping tune of 50 million guilders.
Without bidding?
Without any bid. That too was blocked and did not go ahead. Government issued, tried to cut a deal with Port de Plaisance to swap land from a parcel of land in the area of Port de Plaisance with the land that government has designated for public parking there, in the area known as Kimsha Beach. That area is designated for public parking. It is in a planning permit, which is like the front runner of a zoning plan. In the absence of a zoning plan, you issue a planning permit. But a planning permit is a legal document. And in that document, that area is zoned for public parking. The minister tried to swap it with Port de Plaisance, so Port de Plaisance would get it in outright ownership in exchange for a parcel of land for the construction of a sewage plant. That too we have blocked. So there are a number of things that, it was like, my God, even though there's a motion of no confidence, even though there's a motion rather that tell the government explicitly, stay away from this, stay away from that, stay away from that, stay away from that, stay away from that, they deliberately went ahead. The much talked about Voss property that was purchased, government also signed off on it and went to the notary in a rush to sign a transfer. The notary also, government issued the land in long lease to the APS for a guilder. So you purchase land for $5 million and then give it to APS for a guilder. And then I hear, the former minister of Romy trying to do damage control. So yeah, with William Marlin, it's a pity that William Marlin is against young local people getting a break to own a home. Absolutely not. There's nobody who has built more homes in St. Martin than William Marlin. There's nobody who's bought more land to build homes and to build schools than William Marlin. Absolutely not. I am all for people owning homes. But you can't purchase a property for $5 million or APS $80 million and then give it to them for a dollar. And give it to them for a guilder. I mean, it's unheard of.
We all the time, Mr. Prime Minister, have 45 seconds, all yours, in closing.
Well, Oral, I just want to thank you for this opportunity, and I want to again wish the people of St. Martin all the best for 2016. We know all eyes will be focused on the government. So far, we've promised you an open and transparent government, and we have been such with you. Every Wednesday, we keep our weekly press briefing. We are not hiding, sending out press releases. We are facing the media. We are facing the public of St. Martin. And I want to tell those in Facebook land that within short, the Prime Minister will be launching a Facebook page to keep in touch with the people and to let the people know what the Prime Minister and the government by extension are busy with and what they are doing. It's a difference between the private citizen, William Marlin, or the politician, William Marlin, who says, well, I don't really like Facebook, and the Prime Minister of St. Martin, who has to communicate with the people of St. Martin, be open and transparent with the people and let them know what is going on. So we want to thank all of those who have been congratulating the government, thanking the government and wishing us well. And for those who are wondering whether nothing is going to happen to the hospital, I can tell you the minister is feverishly working on the hospital plans, and when it's ready, he will let the people know exactly what he has met, what the so-called readiness was with the expansion of the hospital, what the true story is, and the direction in which the minister and the government intends to take the further expansion of the St. Martin Medical Center and the realization of a sort of a partnership to realize medical tourism on the island.
Well, Mr. Prime Minister, thank you again and much success to you and your family.
Thank you, Oral, and all the best.
And that's it for now. I'll see you next time. Until then, good night. Take care. Bye.